Hello, it's James in the Band of Fire, Chapter 9, Order of the Kraken. A small group of Titans sat at a table, talking as Camilla, a slender woman with long curly brown hair, dark blue eyes, a small nose, and a slightly round face, sat at the head of the table. To her left sat Minerva, a tiny brown-skinned woman with short black hair, midnight black eyes, and a small button-like nose. He recognized her as Camilla's friend from years ago. To Camilla's right sat a slightly older individual that he didn't recognize, with dark skin, almost brownish yellow eyes, long brown hair down to his back, and a long brown fluffy beard and mustache. They had been calling him Zoram since sitting at the table. As he looked around the table and strained his eyes to hear, his wrists tied behind his back ached from the days of being tied up. His conversation with Camilla yesterday gave him some additional insight to what was happening, and he was now trying to memorize the faces and names of all the members of the Order of the Kraken, as she called them. He thought carefully about the conversation and carefully thought through the discussion to look for any additional information he may have missed. "Simon," she began in her melodious voice, "I am your father. You haven't been my father since I was 6 years old, and even before then, you were almost never home for Mom or I." He couldn't argue, but the words still came as a dagger to him. "And now I am ensuring that you don't hurt James as you have hurt me. Although only my half-brother, I love him far more than I ever loved you." This time, her deep blue eyes twinkled and a smile came across her lips. Then she giggled at the thought of holding and playing with her little brother. The Band of Fire is a corrupt system that has been developed to hold Titans back, like you strived to hold Mom back from using her powers of telepathy. It is your fault she was in that car with a natural born and was killed as a Titan should never be. You could have protected her, but were too proud to allow telepathy in your life. For this, I will never forgive you. You will never know what it is like to have the very words of your mother ripped from your mind as her heart stops beating. I was talking to her. She was sharing her love as her body lay bleeding with her legs and body pinned in the passenger front seat. Her love still echoes in my mind, but the words were taken from me when her mind could no longer send that message I had known my entire life. You will never understand and can never make it up to me. Sarah loved you, and Doc worked really hard to help you develop your skills as a concordant. Sarah never loved me as much as Mom did. Only James showed me that kind of love. As for Master McAdams, he is part of the problem. He doesn't want us to truly use our skills. We are never taught the full extent of our strengths and abilities, only the extent he wants us to know. Even Master Bell was trying to get me to limit what I learned. In the Order of the Kraken, I will teach all skills and all abilities. With the help of my friends, we will have far more power than any Titan from the Band of Fire. As a concordant myself, I will one day replace the limited views of Doc McAdams and help us take our proper place in the world. For the Titans were greater than the gods in ancient mythology, and we should likewise be now. His memories were interrupted as Camilla stood and began to instruct all in attendance. The Band of Fire camp has begun, and many new Titans are being instructed in the limited views of Doc McAdams. The instructors will continue, as most of you know, to teach them the limited views of what their Titan powers are and how they should be used. We have a different vision, a different plan, and more importantly, a very important responsibility to reach out and find them, bring into our order, into our camp, that we can help them take their proper place in this world. As Camilla stopped speaking, Zoram stood and began to address the group. Camilla is right. May we take her lead and walk the path. Stand the ground and fight the fight that must be won. These Titans are my children and your children. They are men and women of unbelievable power that are being told their only job is to help and serve others. They have a right to know more. This world owes them respect and honor, for we will carry them into the 21st century. We must infiltrate the very core of the band of fire and still even the newest and weakest of Titans. I consider it my responsibility to ensure each of them can get theirs. They deserve more than Doc will ever give them. He then sat again in his chair with his brownish yellow eyes burning with fire and great passion. Then she stood, a 5'6" woman with long, stringy black hair and stone-cold, deep green eyes. The anger and hatred in her face shone through. I now stand, with or without you, in open rebellion to the status quo. Many bans have been created over time due to the band of fire, limiting individuals for years to one Titan ability. These secret combinations and groups have been weak because of lack of leadership. The Order of the Kraken is different. With Camilla's capable concordant leadership, we are powerful. I now stand with each of you, pushed by the band of fire and their limited views of Titan power. My grandmother repudiated me, degraded me, and even laughed at my power. She felt a hypocrisy was not a real Titan. Healing is not enough for her. My power is viewed by many in the Titan establishment as ignoble, but no longer shall they think that way. If healing is not enough, then I shall help all hypocrisy to learn the power to anathematize. Only then will they be recognized as a true Titan. They shall forever remember the name Catherine Circe, and shall fear me and fear all of the Order of the Kraken. She broke into a smile and a simple laugh that echoed through the hall and made Simon's skin crawl. Camilla, who had remained standing throughout the talks, stepped forward, and a blood-red phoenix flew to her shoulder as she opened her mouth again. Simon is our key. We must keep him separate from his family, and more importantly, separate from the band of fire. Only then can we infiltrate the Orientopathy class with instructor Zoram Balthazar. I can shield your mind from Doc, but you must act your part well. We need an inside man. If there is any question, you will be dismissed, as many of our order have been. Peter, Camilla turned to look at her left, where a 5'11" man rose to attention, and Simon noticed his shaved head, hazel eyes, and round nose. I need you to help Zoram and Ellie get to Campus Gaia. A young lady stood with a short, spiky red haircut, small build, and cute freckles across her nose and cheeks. Simon had never seen her, but she was tiny and couldn't be more than 12 years old. Our goal is for them to add you, Ellie, to their camp so that you can continue to work with Zoram in infiltrating the camp. Although you are almost 15, they will see you as too small and probably only 12 years old. Zoram will present himself as your father and ask if you could be admitted, since he will be teaching the Orientopathy class. Ellie smiled with delight and nodded in agreement. I then need you back, Peter, so that you can help me move our camp to a new location. I am thinking of moving to Brazil, where they will never think to follow us. We need to keep Simon separate from them all. Minerva stood, but her 4'8" height made her still very short in comparison to all around her. Camilla, should we really be stating our plans with Simon in the room? His power is Orientopathy, for which he is very capable. Even our blindfold failed to keep him from learning our location, our numbers, and even the exact time and day it was. I underestimated him once, but will not blindfold him again, so that I can see what he is doing, where he is looking, and continue to read his mind. He proved long ago, with my mother, that he has no power of telepathy, so he will not be able to send any information about our plans or our location to anyone else. nor will he be able to stop me from reading his mind. As for Doc or anyone else reading his mind, I can sense any telepathy entering his mind. I am currently blocking his location from Doc McAdams, who has looked for him. Besides, I will enjoy Simon seeing his complete failure as our plans come to fruition. Camilla then smiled at Minerva in appreciation. May I at least request that Adam be assigned as his personal guard and travel companion, Minerva pleaded. Done. Thanks for the suggestion, Minnie. Adam, Camilla turned to her right. Will you take him as your personal charge? You should know exactly what is happening with him at all times and ensure he stays in your presence. You will personally be held responsible if he escapes. With great pleasure, a large, broad-shouldered, 6'8" man with shoulder-length, white blonde hair, dark brown eyes, tan skin, and a large, pointy nose, said, standing with a slight bow to Camilla. The beautifully crafted staff in his right hand appeared to be made of oak, with a large hand-carved wood handle. I will treat him as my own father. All began to laugh as Camilla started to hum her song, the very song Simon had heard from his tent just before all went black. As much as I would love you to treat him like you did your father, we need him alive, at least for now. And again, Adam bowed his head in respect as if he were Camilla's servant. At that, they were all excused, and many of the order broke into groups to make plans based on how they were instructed. And the last man at the table, a short black male with short, curly black hair, dark brown eyes, and glasses, hurried over to Camilla and asked what he was to do. She smiled at him and instructed him to prepare the camp for departure. And then his dark brown eyes seemed to light up, and Simon knew they must be speaking telepathically, because he had seen that look before when he was married to Arya. Just then, Adam walked over to Simon and picked him up and carried him from the room. James awoke, lying in his sleeping bag on the cot, and he looked over at Michael, who was sleeping. As he looked to Helia, she was not in her nest. His clothes were soaked, and tears were running down his face. His whole body was tense, and his arms and legs ached. What had he just seen? Was his dad still in the same place he was before, since they were moving to Brazil and not already there, as he had witnessed in the classification with Doc McAdams? And more importantly, what is the Order of the Kraken? He didn't think it would be in any of his books. Just then he heard a voice, a very quick, high-pitched, but concerned voice. Please let me by. I know that James is in trouble. I can feel it, and I don't know what it is. You cannot pass, young lady. That is the rule while here at camp. I don't care if he is your brother. I don't have the power to understand you. Can you at least go check on him? Your words mean nothing to me, and the rules will not change even if you are cute and have been kind to me. Maybe you should find a friend that can talk to me. At that, James rose and walked out of the tent to see Becca on one side of the path, with the old wolf Jacques standing before her. Becca looked scared, but very concerned at the same time. James walked over, and Becca seemed to relax. James then addressed the wolf. Jacques, why do you limit access to my tent when Becca comes by? The wolf then responded, you were told the rules in the Book of Adam, which a good Titan has surely read. I shall not break the rules for you, for I work for Doc, and he trusts me. Wolves have been deceived before by unrighteous Titans, but they didn't deceive me, and I will not be tricked by you or this cute female. James smiled and then asked where he and Becca could talk. Jacques pointed his nose toward the benches around the fire pit in the center of the trail. Becca nodded, and they moved to them. As they sat, Becca continued to look worried and began to speak in rapid succession. What was happening to you? I could feel your anxiety in my tent. It felt as if you had traveled a great distance, but you were still sleeping in your tent. Where did you go? What happened? Please, I am not good enough at telepathy yet to read your mind. I don't even know why I felt your apprehension and anxiety, but it was strong enough that I was awakened. James looked at her in amazement, but before he could answer, she continued, what do you know? I could feel it, but can't quite see what you saw, where you went, or what you are worried about. You're my best friend. I can help you. Her speaking increased in speed and anxiousness. James knew she wasn't going to stop until he started to talk. I didn't travel at all, but in my mind I was seeing through my father's eyes again. Again? You have seen into his mind before? Yes, but this time I saw the Order of the Kraken. She looked stunned and obviously knew more than he did about this. Becca, you need to tell me everything you know. Then I will share what I have seen, and we can decide what we need to do with this information. Becca took a deep breath and began to speak at a very slow, careful pace, picking her words very carefully. You must know that much of this information is hearsay and writings that are not common reading for a student. The biggest name of the Order of the Kraken is someone you should know, your sister, Camilla. She was an absolutely amazing Titan and member of the Band of Fire until her 16th birthday when she disappeared. Nobody knows why she disappeared, but she has been seen many times since, always in bad situations. She is considered the leader of the Order and has been said to be involved in direct killings, robberies, and some kidnappings. Many powerful Titans have been captured by the Order, and most haven't been heard of again. In fact, there are rumors that your father was captured by them. I don't remember Camilla from before, but she's absolutely the leader. I watched her have a meeting with many Titans. She did capture my father, for I saw it the morning of my 12th birthday, and she still has him in her camp right now. Oh, so you know where her camp is? Did you see who was in the Order of the Kraken? They are a secret society and the members are not known. I know where her camp is right now, but they are moving. I am not sure where they will be going from there, maybe Brazil or something like that. As for members of the Order, I know of Zoram something, who will be trying to infiltrate Campus Gaia. I also heard the name Minerva, Ellie, Peter, and Adam. There were also at least one other woman, but I didn't know her name. I saw them and several others, but not sure I could describe them without seeing them again. If you were better at reading my mind, maybe you could bring it all to remembrance. Well, I might be able to help. I don't know who Zoram, Adam, or Ellie are, but Minerva is known as one of the Titans kicked out of Campus Gaia for breaking the rules and hurting other Titans when she was 16 years old. She was one of Camilla's friends. Peter may actually be Peter Phillips, a chronopath that is nephew of Amber Bard that teaches xenophonic skills. We will meet her later today. They continued to talk for hours as James tried to remember everything he saw and explained to Becca about his various dreams. She was very interested and interjected any information she had, but couldn't fill in very much additional information. She was carefully noting anything and everything she could to figure out what they should do next. As the sun came up, the tent started coming to life. James and Becca stopped talking and decided to start going back to their tents. As they walked back, Becca quickly interjected her final idea. James, we need to learn as much as possible from our instructors. There will come a time when you need to be as developed as possible in all your concordant skills. We may need to go save your dad. I will help you in every way I can. She then ran to her tent to get ready for class, and James smiled to himself as he walked back into his tent and heard Helia fly from behind him to his shoulder. It was time for breakfast. He hadn't slept at all over the night, and he wasn't even slightly tired. What else would he learn or see over the next several weeks? He changed his clothes quickly, grabbed his bag and the books for the day. He then walked back out of the tent toward the great hall for breakfast. Today was also the day he would finally take Helia to class for wildlife studies.